It's important for people to understand that this is a radical decision by the Supreme Court that is the product of a 50-plus year chess game that has been played by the gun industry. That does not represent gun owners. You know, it's often said that you're entitled to your own opinion, but not to your own facts. You're also not entitled to your own history. And that's exactly what the Supreme Court is trying to do here. This challenges over 200 plus years of jurisprudence and undoes that. This decision will get Americans killed. It is a severe danger to the American people and the domestic tranquility, which is in the preamble to the Constitution, right? This is not what a well-regulated militia looks like.
We just got a statement, David, from March for Our Lives, and the very first sentence of it says this: young people will die as a result of the court's decision. Do you believe that?
Yes, I do believe that that's true.
That is March for Our Lives founder David Hogg, also a school shooting survivor back in Marjorie Douglas High School that happened back in 2018. Speaking about the latest Supreme Court decision that's striking down a New York state law that was making it more difficult for folks to carry a concealed handgun outside of their home. Again, let's not forget what we just talked about a few minutes ago when it comes to Roe versus Wade. But either way it goes, as we heard from Hogg, he does believe this ruling will result in more people dying. He's not the only one who thinks so. But first, let's go into details of what they did. The New York law at issue required concealed carry permit applicants to demonstrate a special need for a license beyond a basic desire for self-defense. In striking down the law, the court's conservatives ruled that the so-called proper clause requirement prevented law-abiding citizens with ordinary self-defense needs from exercising their right to keep and bear arms. The ruling's broad sweep amounts to a complete overhaul of the court's Second Amendment doctrine and is expected to call into question a wide range of other gun laws. That's according to legal experts. Now, this ruling, it sets the stage to turn down some other things, because also in that interview, David Hogg pointed out, hey, thankfully, at least some of this legislation that we've been coming towards with this bipartisan nature between the Senate and the House, amazingly, on some kind of gun reform that some Republicans got and also some Democrats got what they wanted, some aspects of that could potentially be on the chopping block because of this decision. It's all connected. Here's how. So this decision could hamper other efforts to pass modern gun control measures. According to Adam Winkler, a professor at UCLA School of Law, the ruling means that for a gun law to be constitutionally permissible, it must be consistent with historical patterns of gun regulation. Historical patterns of gun regulation. A law like a red flag law, part of the Senate compromise, is a new modern innovation, he said. There's no historical tradition of taking guns away from people who are in crisis. Closing the boyfriend loophole is now called into question by this opinion, because there's no historical regulation of prohibiting boyfriends who engage in domestic violence from possessing firearms, is what he also added. So again, just like Roe versus Wade, as they say, this isn't making abortion illegal, it's just giving the rights back to states to make it illegal. In this case, it's like, yo, listen, we're just saying that New York can't do what they want. States' rights, number one, and number two, the things that are now being legislated potentially do something, as little as it is, about our problems. They can say that's not consistent with our history. The founding fathers didn't know anything about boyfriends shooting girlfriends and in domestic violence. They didn't put that in the Constitution, so therefore we can challenge that as well.
Jayar makes the really important point here that the Supreme Court is making this decision about this case that they took from New York because it's going to set a precedent about what other states can do with their gun rights. We're really states' rightsing our way out of some rights, but it's also states' rights unless the right doesn't like how the states, are applying those rights in laws for their people. And this particular gun law is kind of common sense, right? You can't leave your house with the gun and go about your day-to-day life in public with the gun. Of course, private establishments can still say, we own this business, you can't enter with a gun. But it's about, being in public spaces with your gun. Do you need it? And so what this law in New York did was made it so that when you apply for a concealed carry permit, you have to say that this is for self-defense and have a reason for needing it. This is so that people, who are aggressors, who have guns because they like the power that they provide, they want to commit acts of violence, they can't go out in public with a gun. It makes pretty straightforward sense. And as someone who uses handguns, who thinks a lot about, what our rights mean and our rights being stripped away, I think my, official stance on this particular story is you don't need a gun in Wegmans, bro. Like, Like in New York, if you're going out in public and you think you're going to need, the Second Amendment right is for a free and to form a militia, right? A well-regulated militia. The militia is not meeting in the public park. I mean, seriously, you still have your right to bear arms. You can keep your gun at home. You can use it and exercise your right to self-defense if you're under a violent threat. It was straightforward. It doesn't make sense that they made this ruling.
I want to point out one particular thing because you said how you're a gun owner and you think about our rights a lot. It's graphic 6, you guys, because one of the consequences that do come from this, and I've heard many people who were not big gun nuts say similar things. This is one of those consequences that come with this, which again, I'm gonna jump down to graphic 10 after this and drive this point home. Graphic 6, a lot more people are going to go out now and get guns. And for the wrong reasons, is what Richard Alborn said. He's president of the nonprofit Citizens Crime Commission. I have people telling me they decided to get a gun that I never dreamed would go out and get a gun. They're not going to use it illegally, but they're feeling this need to arm themselves in a way that I've not seen before. Crazy how that works. Now graphic 10, because as politicians on the right were celebrating this, so was the NRA president. He says this is another landmark win for constitutional freedom and the NRA. A win for the NRA, he says. That's Wayne LaPierre, the gun rights lobby's executive vice president. This decision unequivocally validates the position of the NRA and should put lawmakers on notice. No law should be passed that impinges on the individual freedoms. So he's happy because look, more people are gonna go out and buy guns. That's good for the NRA because we lobby for people to make more money in the gun industry in general. And other folks are saying, hey, we're gonna need to get more guns because everyone's flooded with guns and we now have no protections to keep people from walking out and say, I need to defend myself, so I'm gonna shoot you in the face. Because let's keep it real. That's a big portion of their decision and thought process when it comes to this. Money and then violence.